Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. We've got a pretty good sized class today. I think we had about 30 registered for today's class. So got a couple more people just joining in, but we can do a little housekeeping while we're waiting for everybody to get logged in. First and foremost, my name is Colleen DeLang. I'm on staff here at REALTORS, also been a realtor for, 22 years now. And I'm joined by Brian Alford, our Chief Technical Officer. Brian, you want to say hi?
Hello.
So today we're going to take you through some of the changes and some of the great new tools that you're going to get. I know I would probably be wondering, why am I making this change? Who is REALTORS? What do they do? How is this going to benefit my business? And we're going to cover all of that today, as well as some great new products that you're going to have access to. So Brian's been working really hard behind the scenes, making sure all the data is moving over and flowing properly. So just before we get started, we're going to go at a pretty good pace today. We have a lot of additional classes that are coming, so we're going to kind of do a high-level overview on a few things, but don't worry, I'm going to show you where you can register for upcoming classes on each one of the products. We're also recording this class, so if you missed something or maybe we went along a little fast over something, you need to see it again, you can actually go back and watch this exact class. It'll be uploaded late this evening, and it's right on our YouTube channel under the Upar playlist. But I'm going to show you all of that when we get into the demo portion. Also, there's a question box, which is probably minimized over at the right-hand side of your screen. If you click in that question box, you can type in any questions along the way, and we'll go ahead and get those answered. If I could just have one person put in the question box that they can see and hear us okay, then we can go ahead and get started. So again, your question box should be minimized, probably in your GoToWebinar panel. And I just want to make sure that everybody's able to see and hear us okay before we get started. All right, thank you so much, Michelle. All right, so also in that same area where you found the questions box, there are 3 handouts. Brian's going to cover what's in the handouts. We're also going to talk about the 2 data sheets that are in there, but I'm going to show you where you can get all the rest of them, but I want to give you 2 examples. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the man who makes all the magic happen. He's the one behind the scenes that I have to tell you has been working tirelessly late into the night, making sure everything is flowing properly and making sure that all the data is there for your conversion. Mr. Brian Alford, take it away, Brian.
Yep, I'm definitely responsible for this mess. So, and I'm just going to be honest with everyone. You know, I mean, a conversion is never something that is easy to do. We are asking you to change a number of things. So, and that's what we're going to go through. I'm going to go through, everything to expect. What exactly does this mean? These important dates, how to prepare. This will be your homework. And then some of the benefits of coming on board, which is education and training. So I'm actually going to shut my camera off because I think it improves the display there. Okay. All right, conversion. Now, what we're doing when we say conversion, or I say conversion, means that we're going to move your membership, all of your data, listings, and so on, over onto the REALTORS platform. Now, we have Paragon, you have Paragon. Some of the advantages, and I'm going to go into that, are the integrations that we're able to offer over and above what you currently have in your current version of Paragon. But for right now, you're running parallel. And what that means is you're actually entering information or editing information, listings, and so on in your current MLS system, and it automatically flows over into the new MLS system. And what that means is you're not going to do any editing this week until we go into what would be the point of cutover, and I'm going to go into greater detail on that shortly. Also, and I just throw this note in there, we have contacted your third parties, IDX, syndication, as well as other third parties like HomeSnap, Cloud, CMA about moving your data over onto our platform. So everyone has been notified, and this includes broker websites, franchise websites, and so on. And don't hesitate if you have any questions, just shoot the question out there and Colleen will let me know what it is and I'll try to answer it the best I can. Okay, the vendoring experience. Now, this is one of the reasons that your leadership has decided to come on board with us. We've been doing this for a long time, over 12 years. And we've done this for, I think we're at 9 associations that we've onboarded at this point. And some of the advantages are the fact that you get to keep all those things that you currently have in your MLS system, but you get the benefits of being on ours, which means better pricing, more options, and so on. But some of those levels of autonomy, and that's what I call it, allows you to continue to brand, have your own fields, your own communication with your membership in the MLS system, as well as your own rules. And some of those rules might indicate that I know taxes keep coming up, and this is something that that might not be required for Upper Peninsula. While it might require the SCV in the tax year, most MLSs in the state of Michigan, and we cover the entire state, do enter the taxes. So it's entirely a policy question for your association MLS. And some of the other benefits of coming on board is you're getting support from us. And I'll go into that towards the end. And what that means is you have one phone number to call for all of the products that you use. So if you have a problem with Paragon, you have a problem with showing time, you have a problem with, well, let's just go into these products right here. Paragon, Showing Time, Cloud CMA, HomeSnap. Zip form we do not provide. However, we do provide the level of integration. So that allows you to use what's called the MLS connector. So you can auto pop those documents with data from the MLS. Something new, deep linking and RPR deep linking. And what these links do is they provide direct access to a particular property record and the public records or the assessor's information and so on that's available under that service. So whether it's Bsna or RPR. Tax autofill. Now this is an optional piece that you'll have when you enter a listing. You can go in and it'll grab some of the basic information like the true address, the legal description, and some other information that you can actually auto-populate into Paragon and listing entry. Remember, this is optional, and you get to see all of the information and opt in for each field if you want or opt out. So it's entirely up to you. And a new feature, and we just are going to be introducing this week, is called the single property website. And what this does, this site allows you to market this property, not only a particular property or listing, but the agent, the agent, are able to market that listing and you yourself on social media. So it's a very, it's a nice scalable website, and I'll go into that shortly. Okay. You can see right here, we do have some deep linking to HomeSnap reports and the single property website. Now here is a single property website. And again, this scales to whether it's down on a phone up to a full desktop. And you're able to share this on social media. In addition to that, and Colleen will go into this shortly, you'll see the agent's other listings down below. So they can actually link off into something else they might see. And what it does is it retains their other actives, pendings, and closed within the last 6 months to a year. So it's just another way for an agent to really market themselves and their listings. And you could do the same thing with the HomeSnap sharing as well. Okay, another point of difference is the HomeSnap Pro Premium. Now, you currently have HomeSnap Pro. And that enables you to actually freely search MLS listings, share them with clients, and so on, invite clients. But we offer a feature that, or a couple of features in the Homesnap Pro that include editing your listing. So this allows you to change status, listing price, remarks, directions, and so on within Homesnap. So right on your phone. And you can actually share your associated documents. So anything listed in Paragon, those associated documents, disclosures, lead-based paint, those will be available within Homesnap as well. And finally, the BSNA deep linking. Now, while this service does not pay for any charged records, so in other words, if there's a $1, $2, or $3 fee, it does provide the convenience of linking directly to the property. So what you see is right there, and then if you want to go any further, it actually wants to charge you. And if you have a BSNA account, you can go right in. It'll use essentially like a single sign-on. And remember, this is only where these records are available in BSNA. So in the UP, there's not complete coverage with BSNA, but where there is, we can link to those properties. Okay, data sharing. Now, this is another big factor that your leadership decided to come on board. We have facilitated data sharing across the state of Michigan, and we're able to and willing to work with anyone that's interested in moving forward. Now, today, when you log in, you'll see all this information down in the Lower Peninsula. Now, just for everyone's record, we did reach out to the Eastern UP. There was a lot of interest from the UP Association to reach out to them and find out if they were interested in data sharing. And we offered them up a very cost-efficient way or effective way to data share. But as of today, they told us no. So maybe you'll have better luck if you reach out to them. Maybe more of a grassroots, but you know we're here to help you out. We're here to make it work out. The same goes with Emmett AKC and Water Wonderland. We're willing to work with them as well. So, you know, it's just data sharing takes a lot of discussion and cooperation to make it work. So this is something that requires more than just our effort. It requires everyone's effort to kind of reach out and offer this as a solution. Okay, I can't go any further without mentioning Wisconsin. Now, after looking at your data, it was like, okay, this is a serious footprint within your MLS system. You have a number of brokerages and agents that are licensed or dual licensed within Wisconsin and Michigan. So it was prudent for us to not ignore these properties. So this required us to do some additional work, and that included introducing all 72 counties in Wisconsin, 94 areas of municipalities, mail cities, 27 school districts. And that accounts for 426 listings just in the last year for over $53 million in volume. So, you know, the last thing I want are listings that just say out of area. I think that frustrates everyone. It really doesn't make them searchable. So this only made the most sense when you have this, at least a sizable number of listings that account for in your database. We had to find a place for it, an accurate location. And I'll go into how important those location identifiers are shortly. Okay, in addition to with Upper Peninsula Association coming on board, we had to introduce some of these non-standard, and I'll go into that shortly about what non-standards are. These are unique to your area. While they might not have much value outside of the Upper Peninsula or outside of areas that might not have ski resorts or trailside descriptions, it was something that was very important to your membership, your leadership. So we went ahead and added these. There was no real estate standards equivalent for those fields. And this is what I mean by standards. we're all bound by these standards that are established by NAR. NAR oversees the Real Estate Standards Organization, or RESO, for establishing data standards. So what we're supposed to do is adopt these new fields or use fields that are standard over fields that are unique. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have unique fields. It's just that if there's a place for them under the standard fields, we have to move towards that direction. So that could include changing certain field names, introducing new fields. So these are changes that are required under NAR. So just remember, as this goes forward, this will require us to make these field changes, add new fields, possibly remove fields. So it all depends. So this is something that we will inform everyone as to the direction that we're supposed to go under the guidance of NAR's mandates. Okay, missing required fields. Now this is just kind of a heads up as to what to expect when you start listing entry, which won't start in the new system until April 4th, and I'll go into that shortly. You're going to get hit with a number of these errors with these fields that are missing, and these are standard fields under RESO. So even though we couldn't find a place or you didn't have them in your current system, we had to have a place for these under RESO rules and standards. So you might see something like this. It might seem daunting at first, but the closer we get, it's my motivation to kind of minimize this hit with errors so that you can get into editing listings, entering listings much more comfortably. Any questions? Okay, just throwing it out there.
Nope, actually, I think we're good so far.
Okay, some notable points of difference between our Paragon systems, and those are rentals. Now, we allow rentals in every class. Now, what that I mean is we have a residential can be labeled as a sale or a rental or lease, and the same goes with commercial, same goes with even vacant land, even multifamily. So that's an optional switch, and then depending on what you select will determine on whether you have to enter fields that are valid for a lease or not. Statuses, for the most part, they look to be one-to-one. So in other words, you have a pending with contingency. That's equivalent to a contingency applies. Now, there was some question on whether that allows showings. Well, it's an active status. It accrues days on market, and according to your board staff, that those pending statuses still allow showings. So it was appropriate for this to be under keep showing contingency applies. And there's a supplemental field that allows you to specify the contingency if your board chooses. The pending backup encouraged is equivalent to the ABO status or accepting backup offers. That is the RESO standard name. And pending with kickout, that is another contingent offer. So that would be applied under the KSCA or keep showing contingency applies. Your withdrawn is equivalent to conditionally withdrawn, and that means it's either held or it's temporarily taken off the market. There's still a valid listing agreement. And cancel is a voided agreement or equivalent to unconditionally withdrawn. The listing agreement is torn up, it's no longer valid. And sold will be equivalent to closed. And some other things that you might see, or at least in this case, you'll see a coming soon status. Now, because you're getting data from other parts of the state, some of these data sharing partners use this status, coming soon. And it allows them to put a listing in a coming soon status for up to 7 days. So it's entirely up to your board whether it's something you would adopt, but again, this is a RESO standard status, plus some of the sharing partners decided to use it, so we had to have a place for it. In other words, this is essentially an active listing that is not showing. So that's exactly what that means. But you can schedule showings on these properties after the available date. So in other words, you might not be able to show it as long as it's in the coming soon status, but you can in advance schedule those showings. So any questions on that, support can definitely help you out, and I'll go into how to reach support. Now, one other thing that you should notice is there's a field called original MLS number. Now, it might not be in there by default, but Colleen will go into that when she does her demonstration. This will allow you to search based on the MLS number in your current Paragon. So whatever that number is, you can actually search on it here. You can't search on it on that original MLS number in the power search at the top, only through the original MLS field. And post correction. These are going to change day to day. I think we're very close with the bathrooms. Your quarter, half, and three-quarter bathrooms had to be mapped into the appropriate locations, and that includes where the level is. Showing time, that will be available in the new MLS system beginning April 4th. Cloud CMA, we're still working with Lone Wolf on this one. It's essentially, you'll keep everything you have. It's just that we need to point the source of the data to another, to our servers. HomeSnap Pro Premium, again, still working with HomeSnap on that one. The Bsna deep linking, that is my project. I'm still working on the programming for that. Single property websites, I know I have TBD, but like I said, it's going to be launched this week. So one thing to be aware of is you will get emails to say, hey, you could start marketing this property. So it'll just notify you that the website is now available for you to market from. Okay, now here is the meat and potatoes of the presentation here. Parallel, which is what you're currently in right now. You're going to continue to do listing maintenance within your current Upar Paragon. So you're going to continue to enter listings, edit listings, and they'll automatically import into the MyRealTors Paragon. We've already moved your clients. And I know we had a problem with the email addresses, but those are now in there. So everything is completely intact. All your clients are there and their email addresses, if there were email addresses under those contacts. Now, here's the important part, and this is happening this Friday, April 1st. We will lock down your current MLS system, probably around, I'm going to say morning, no later than 9 a.m. Eastern. We will lock your system into a read-only, and that means you cannot enter or edit any listings over that entire weekend. So if you need to get something done, you need to get it done before Friday morning. If it's a price change, a status change, get it done. Otherwise, it's going to have to wait until Monday morning in the new system to do those changes. And one other thing I want to note is showing time will be available in the Upar system over that weekend. So you can continue to schedule showings or as well as get into showing time and edit the showing time configurations for, let's say, a particular listing. Okay, now come next Monday, April 4th. That's the cutover. This is where you come completely on board the new MLS system. And this means that all the listing maintenance will begin in the MyRealTors Paragon system. But that's not going to happen until closer to noon or 11 a.m. Eastern time. But we will notify you as to when you can start editing listings or adding listings. At that point, the Upar Paragon system will still be available, but it will be static and it will not update. What that means is it's going to be frozen in time. The way it was left on that Friday morning, once we lock it into a read-only, it will be there for you to reference. There is no ETA when we're going to get rid of it. Typically, we leave these up running for a month or two, and this allows you to go in and maybe do a comparison of something that was done previously in the other system. So it allows you to reference, use that that old system for reference only. And bear in mind, even if it goes away, we have all of your data in a raw format. So if there is some issue discovered at a later date, we still have all of that data. We didn't throw away anything. So even if Paragon, the old Paragon system isn't available, we retain everything. It's just, it doesn't always find a target in the new system. And beginning that Friday or that Monday morning, showing time will be enabled in the Paragon system, and it will be disabled in the old MLS system. Any questions on this?
No questions so far. I think you're covering it great, Brian.
Wow. Okay. You know that homework that I was talking about? Well, this is it. What I need you to do is to work on your saved searches. And unfortunately, that was something that we could not export. It just does not work a one-to-one. It wouldn't be accurate. It would be completely an inefficient way of you or moving your searches over. So unfortunately, and this might not sound efficient, this is the only way to do it, is you're going to have to export your Upar Paragon saved searches and then import them into my REALTORS Paragon. And that, as I said, unfortunately, is going to be a manual effort. And then one of the most important things that I need from you is I need your eyes. I need you to verify your listings. Only you know your listings better than anybody else. And all I need you to do is to hit that corrections button. And I can tell you, I have gotten a lot of feedback from you. And I thank everyone that has hit that corrections button and let me know what's wrong, what's missing, what's an error, just all of that, whatever you can think of. And with that corrections button, it tells me everything about the listing and that it's you, except what's wrong with it. Just simply tell me what is wrong with the listing, what's missing. Just do that. It's that easy. Just hit that corrections button in the new Paragon and report those errors. And as I mentioned, the contacts were imported on March 18th. Okay, exporting saved searches. Again, I do not envy you for this, but this is, unfortunately, this is the only way to do it. So manually, you got to pull up the saved searches, go under your saved searches, select it, and you get your criteria. You can, if you got the space on a screen, just do it side by side. You can pull it up on one, on the current Upar system, and then go into Paragon and recreate those searches. What we find when we do these conversions is this is an opportunity to kind of clean things up with all of the saved searches. So what we find is a lot of agents discover that, you know, those were old saved searches. They're not things that they use anymore. They're only grabbing the ones that are currently active. So it does clean things up. That's the only silver lining that I can come up with doing this effort, other than the fact that you're coming onto a platform and inheriting all of the benefits of being on the My RealTors MLS platform. Okay, and verifying your listings. Now, I did my best to recreate the Upar all fields detail, and Colleen will show you where this is located, but I'm just going to show you where it is. If you go under specialty view, you go under reports and specialty views, you'll see Upar all fields detail. So I tried to make this as similar as the all fields or the detailed report that you have. So I would suggest that you go under search, inventory, bring up your inventory, switch to this report and glance, look at your reports, look at your listings, and just hit that corrections button if you see anything, inaccuracies, missing information, and so on. But use this report. This report is unique to you. It has your unique fields. Not all of the agent reports have that. And they're actually in a place, like I said, that might be a little more familiar. Okay, in addition to just simply looking at your listings, if you're looking at other listings or any listings for that matter, I would encourage you to look at these. These are location identifiers. And what this means, this is where this property is going to be located within the MLS system. And that includes the area. Is it in the correct area? correct municipality. In other words, the taxing authority. Mail city, that's always, it could be one or the other. So, mail cities are an acceptable value. But again, look at that because some agents do search by this. The school district, verify that that is correct. And then the geolocation, what that is the map. Click on that little M. Make sure that it's located where it's supposed to. Now, for a lot of those vacant lands, we imported the latitude and longitude. So if you had to move it within your current Upar MLS system, that should have made it over into our system. So, but verify that. If it doesn't look right, then it tells me that, oh, okay, this is something I got to make sure that we are pulling this correctly. So again, if the map looks wrong, if it's wrong in your current system, then it's going to be wrong in ours. But if it's right in your current Upar Paragon, and it's wrong in ours, then that's something I have to fix. Okay, finally the login. So for those of you that haven't logged in, all you need to do through the new URL is add the capital U, capital P to the beginning of your existing Paragon login. Remember, it's case sensitive, and then the password is the same as your Upar Paragon. That's it. So you're just simply adding capital U, capital P to the beginning of your login. And if you have any problems, I would encourage everyone to try that forgot password. If that does not work, you're welcome to contact support. And that's what support's for. You can contact them with really any issues that you're having. If you're having a problem logging in, I would just encourage you to, if you don't know what your password is, try the forgot password. That's usually the fastest way to get into the new system. But if that doesn't work, don't hesitate. Give us a call or email us or whatever's easiest for you, and we can help you out right away. We'll make sure that you can get into the system and answer any questions that you might have. And finally, classes and training. One of the big parts of what we provide is the training, and it's important to know and be confident that you know how to use the product that you're using. And we take pride, our education staff puts a lot of time into teaching these classes, designing these classes, creating videos, because we see the importance of members that know how to use these products and use them effectively. They definitely benefit, and they can benefit their own business, they can benefit time. So it's important that you take advantage of some of these classes, and it starts with the basics and it can go into the advanced. You can see CMAs. We do Cloud CMA, Paragon Connect with the Collaboration Center. We teach you how to use HomeSnap and our mobile agent. We go into showing time. I know I got HomeSnap on there twice. I thought I corrected that. We also have specialized classes that bring it all together, all of these products into a way to run business with lead generation and social media. And we're always coming up with new classes, so it's something worth coming back and checking out at a later date. And it's again, I can't stress enough that how important classes are for definitely taking advantage of the products that you're using as a member. And that is it for me. And there's no questions?
Well, Brian, I thought you did a great job covering all of that. So if you have any questions for Brian, now is a great time to open up your GoToWebinar panel, which again will be probably minimized with a red arrow at the side of your screen or a flower at the bottom of your screen if you're doing something else. And there's that questions panel in there. So we haven't really gotten any questions so far. So if you do have a question, go ahead and throw it in there. So as Brian mentioned, there's some important dates. Everything that he just went through is actually attached in the handout section. And I'm going to show you where you can find it in Paragon as well. But in that handout section, it's called conversion. It's got all the important dates. And again, you do have a little homework. We want you to go in and take a look at your listings. And I'm going to show you how to do that really easily now. So I'm going to bump myself over to presenter if that's okay with you, Brian.
Sure is.
And all right. And then I'm going to take you through the fun stuff. So Brian does all the hard work. He makes it look all seamless behind the scenes. Really, my job is more on the education side. I'm going to be covering quite a few things today, but don't feel overwhelmed because I promise there are a lot of classes, hands-on classes, step-by-step classes that are coming up for you. So this is kind of an overview of some new products that you're going to get, some new features that you're going to see in Paragon, some that Brian specifically built because people like me were nagging him and said, hey, we need a faster way. So we're going to cover a lot of those things today. So with that, I'm going to turn off my fuzzy hair and just show my screen. Brian, are you able to see the Paragon screen at this point?
Yes, yes,
All right,
indeed.
excellent. So where we're going to start today is I want you to think of resources now as your toolbox, because you're going to get a lot of new tools coming up. And as I mentioned, we have a whole class just on the Collaboration Center. We're going to touch on that today. We're going to have Cloud CMA classes. We're going to have HomeSnap with the new features of HomeSnap that you're going to take advantage of. But you're probably thinking, well, why are we going through all this? Yes, there's going to be more data, and that's the best reason, because you're now going to be able to see listings pretty much coast to coast in Michigan, so that you can pull up more properties, pull up more comps, and really be able to effectively get the data you need. However, one of the other reasons is the extra tools and integration that Brian has worked so hard on. The first one I want to show you, and I'm just going to kind of show you where to find it. It's going to be located under your resources. Again, kind of think about this as your toolbox. Brian has actually even labeled them so they're really easy to find. But one that you're going to see is going to be listed under the property inventory links. I want to show you how nice this is. This is a way that you now can automatically, and I'm going to use my good friend Tom Lipinski here because he always has the fancy waterfront listings. Mine are always the fixer-uppers or hoarder specials, quite honestly, so he gets all the fancy ones. But under the property inventory links, this is where you're going to see all of your listings that you can promote onto social media. There's nothing additional that you need to do. As soon as you're putting your listings into Paragon and Brian flips the switch, which I believe you said we were able to flip this week, right, Brian, for the single property websites?
Yes, they should be getting notifications this week.
All right, so that means this tool is coming to you this week. You're going to be able to promote your properties out onto social media with just a click. So I want to show you how nice this looks. And one of the things I like so much about the single property website is it's designed just for your property and making sure the leads are returned to you. And what I mean is, so many times as agents, we're sharing from other IDX sites or other third-party sites, and essentially what happens is we end up sharing all of our hard work, our photos, and our listing, and someone who just bought the zip code now is cashing in on our hard work, right? The nice thing about the single property website is it's only displaying you and your other listings and your other successful sales. So Tom Lipinski, for example, he listed this beautiful $3 million home. They can, on social media, schedule a showing, which basically just emails you, the agent, that they want to see a property. Up here at the top, of course, I can see the gallery of photos. I can see virtual, and I can see, by the way, branded and unbranded tours. We're going to talk about that in a couple of moments too. But obviously in the MLS, when it's going out to our clients, we have unbranded tours, meaning you don't want some other agent going out to your client, right? But this is a way that you can also do a branded tour to say, hi, my name is Tom Lipinski. I just listed this house. Here's my cell phone number. Would love to help you. You can get into this home today, yada, yada. You can actually have that branded tour that is now attached to your single property website. So just to kind of scroll down here, as you can see, it's going to display all of the photos in a banner style. As we scroll down, we can see the information coming over from the MLS with all of the comments, room sizes, so room dimensions are there. I know that's people are always asking about that. It will give property details. Of course, it will show them where it is on the Google map. And as I scroll down below, I can ask questions, meaning it's going to go to Tom with my questions. I can see all Tom's contact information and immediately be connected. But it also has, if that's not the right listing for me, it also has Tom's other actives, pendings, and solds. So if that maybe isn't the right listing, then maybe I can find one of his other listings that might be the right fit. When I'm ready to go ahead and share this out onto social media, you'll see the share buttons that are right along here. So whether you want to share it to Facebook, maybe you want to put it on Twitter, maybe you want to put it on Pinterest, maybe you just want to email it out or put it on LinkedIn, you have all these sharing options right over here to the right. So when I'm ready to go ahead and share this onto Facebook, I'm simply going to go ahead and write my call to action. And the nice thing is I can actually share it to a business page if I'm managing a business page. I can share it on maybe a group, or I can share it to my company page if I'm managing a company page. So the idea is now I can go ahead and successfully share this listing. And I like that it opens with the large photo and my call to action. When they click on it, it takes them directly in to this single property website view. So this is one of the new tools that you're going to see. Now you can also share the single property website directly from the listing itself. What I love that Brian has been so passionate about is he's fully integrated all of the tools and all of the products into Paragon. So when I'm up here, and by the way, my center section of Paragon might look a little bit different, and you can customize the top here if you haven't done so already. But my center section is obviously controlled by my REALTORS. When you log in, you will see the Upar information in the middle. But keep in mind, pretty much everything else will be the same, and it's fully customizable. I have a little OCD, so I kind of like things in a certain order. So keep in mind, if you are like me and you want to have your quick search on the right-hand side, which is where I usually like it because I'm a little more right-brained, you can move those columns into any place that you want within Paragon. That is one of the nice things about Paragon, is you can customize it so much. But if I go up to the power search here, remember this power search is perfect if you are looking for one property fast, maybe one agent or one MLS number quickly. I can simply type that into the power search. Active and pending listings always come up at the top. And then what will happen is I can go ahead and immediately go into that specific listing. On that specific listing, as I mentioned, if I wanted to use the single property website, it's attached right here with this quick action icon. You'll see these quick action icons throughout our demonstration today, because Brian has really been a big proponent of having everything fully integrated right onto the listing ticket. And we're going to talk a lot more about that too. One of the other things that I love is that Brian has done some deep linking to Bsna. And what that means is, instead of you wanting to go in and getting the Bsna record and having to go log out of Paragon, log into Bsna, find the city you're looking for, type in the address you're looking for, that's a lot of extra steps. So Brian has done the deep linking, which you'll see a button, and I want to apologize. This is a little ribbing I have to give Brian. This looks like a garbage can. I apologize. It's actually supposed to be a government pillar, but when Brian stuffed the government pillar onto the little button, it looks a little more like a trash can, I think, but we'll get him to work on that after the conversion. When you click on that trash can or government pillar, it's going to take you directly into that municipality for that property. Now, as Brian mentioned, this does not waive the fee for you. What it does is it just gives you that deep linking, so it's an extra step. Now, not all municipalities charge a fee. So if there isn't a fee, then it will take you into that property. But the idea is, with that quick action link, I don't have to log in somewhere else and put in a bunch of information. As you can see here, it's actually taking me right into the property record now. I can see it's built on a basement, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the total frontage, and all of that will be located right into that Bsna record. And as Brian mentioned, some Bsna areas are even better than others as far as coverage. This Bsna record happens to be pretty good as far as bringing in all of the information. But now more and more municipalities are even putting assessor information on here. Water, like for us, we have our water bills are obviously attached to the property, so we can see those if there's an unpaid water bill here. So a lot of great information flowing right from Bsna. All right. You're also going to find things like how to schedule a showing. Now, your showing time, as Brian mentioned, is not turned on yet. It will be turned on April 4th. So as you start to enter listings into the new system, we'll be having listing entry classes, how you can actually create a listing right from the tax records, but we'll also show you some helpful things in showing time as well. So we'll show you these deeply integrated buttons and what they do and what they mean. One of the other things, and I'm just going to kind of touch on it since the icon's right here, is you are familiar with HomeSnap, but your new version of HomeSnap is actually going to give you some additional features that you didn't have before. And I got to tell you, I just used one of them and I love it. When you are showing properties, and this just happened to me 2 weekends ago, I was showing properties in St. Clair Shores, and the buyer said, Colleen, there's a lot of water over here in the corner of the basement. Is this from the city flooding that they had a couple years ago? Or is this, just a sub pump failure? Do we know what this is from? Well, the good news is HomeSnap now, because you have associated documents in Paragon, your HomeSnap now will allow you to pull up the property disclosures right from your phone. You'll be able to review them, read them, and you can even share them with the buyer standing next to you. So we'll go over all of that when we do the HomeSnap class. But one of the other features is you can also edit your listings from the palm of your hand. So as I'm sitting here, I wanted to put unfortunately, knock on wood, I had to put a property back onto the market, and I needed to be able to do that rather quickly because we're getting ready to start the class. So I can go right into my listing in HomeSnap. I can change a price. I can change a status. I can change comments. So you can do all of that from HomeSnap in the HomeSnap Pro Premium, which you'll now have. So that will be coming after the next phase of the conversion. There's going to be a whole class on it. We're going to show you how to search on it, how to do some things that I can't even do in any other app, how to walk property lines in real time and a lot of that stuff. So we'll cover all of that coming up. HomeSnap is a great tool. We want you to think of it like your mobile MLS. Other features that Brian has integrated into Paragon, and I have to be honest, this one I think I asked for about 3 years. Finally, he said, you know what, Colleen, I guess that does make sense, and he built it for us. I think because all of the trainers were hounding him. The nice thing about our trainers, and you'll meet some of them coming up, is they are all agents, and they are all agents who do a pretty good amount of production. So they speak agent. They know what agents go through, and they know the shortcuts that they use, so they can pass those along. One of the things that we had been telling Brian for years we needed was buyers were calling us and they were saying, you know what, Colleen, I found 123 Main Street, 3456 West Street, 456 East Street on Zillow, and I want to be able to pull them up quickly, and I want to be able to talk with them quickly, and I want to be able to text everything over quickly, right? But I was doing them one at a time, and it was such a pain. And I said to Brian, there has to be a way we can, in one field, enter 20 or 30 addresses that they're rambling off and find the information faster. And so Brian thought about it, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. But finally, he agreed that it would be helpful to have one field where you could enter up to 30 addresses at one time and pull up all the information, immediately text it over to your buyer if you choose to, and it's fast and easy. So let's take a look at it. Now, you may not be familiar with this field, and it may not show up in your quick search. I'm going to show you how to add it if it's not there. But the field that I'm talking about is the full addresses field. So we're going to pretend for a moment that I just got a call. I'm trying to remember my new listing, 1871. I just got a call on 1871 Cove Road. They had some interest at 123 Main Street. They saw 123 Cherry Street popped up on the market, and you get the idea. Basically, I'm starting to type in these addresses and I'm just hitting enter to separate them. Or you could use commas. I just hit enter. It's a little bit easier. The whole idea is that I can put into up to 30 addresses in one field, pull everything up, and then we can talk about it and I can immediately text them. But there's something else that this field does. Let's say this is 1871 Cove Avenue or Cove Boulevard. It doesn't matter what's behind there. So even if you don't know it's a way, a street, a boulevard, it automatically has a built-in wildcard behind the street address. So it will automatically pull the streets, the circles, the ways, the drives. You don't have to worry. But what if the property is, let's do 41539 East Wessel, but the client doesn't know if it's East Wessel or South Wessel. He's right on the corner. You can actually do an asterisk as a wild card and then continue the address. So it will pull up all of those, no matter if it's East or West, it will pull that up for you. So keep in mind that asterisk will be kind of like a wild card that will pull it up if it does have a street directional that you're not familiar with. And remember, there's a built-in wild card behind the others. Of course, if I'm only looking for active or pending, I can dwindle my quick search down to that. So maybe I'm just looking for something that's active or pending if they're sitting in front of it, just to kind of bring my search results down a little bit quicker. Now I've clearly found those properties. I can go ahead and hit search and bring up my search results. Here's another little agent tip. If your clients are emailing you properties they found on Zillow or properties they found elsewhere, what I generally do is I will hit forward on the email, which kind of opens up the text. I copy and paste the text into that full addresses field. You do have to make sure you have them separated by commas. So what I do is I click forward, like I'm going to forward the email, and make sure there's a comma in between the addresses, and I simply paste them into that field. It will then pull up all of those results, and now I can go ahead and start discussing them or setting appointments even for that buyer. Another cool thing here, as Brian mentioned, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull up those results here. As Brian mentioned, he tried to recreate the actual report that you're familiar with. You're going to find that under reports, and you will find it under specialty view. It's called the Upar all fields detail. What I would recommend doing is favoriting that report, because that will show you the report in the format that you're used to seeing. Of course, you'll see a lot more colorful icons here for those quick action links so that you can do things like, share the single property website or share the HomeSnap profile report. And we're going to cover all of those going forward in our future classes too. When I'm ready to go ahead and share those results via text with my buyer, I'm simply going to go up to the share button here at the top. I'm going to click the text icon. As Brian mentioned, we have brought over your contacts, and I do apologize. Last week, the email addresses were missing. They have corrected that, so you should see your contacts along with their email addresses. But if you're adding someone new, you can certainly do that as well. You just click Add New Contact, and you're going to put in their cell phone number, first and last name, and then you can send those listings out via text, which looks so nice. All right, now you're probably thinking, well, what about the Collab Center? She talked about that. The Collab Center, if you're not familiar, the Collab Center is where you can set up a search, and that search, anytime a new listing meeting that search criteria comes onto the market, it can automatically notify your buyers that there's a new home with all the stuff that they want, and it's ready for them to take a look at. So how you do that is there's not really a Collab Center button. So I want to be very clear. Collab Center is as simple as setting up a search and basically marrying it to a contact. So let's take a look at the Collab Center real quick and some of the things that you'll get to use here going forward. To view someone's Collab Center, you're simply going to go under Contacts, View and Manage Contacts. This is going to show you. Now, this is the first part of your homework too, by the way. We want to make sure that all of the contacts that you had in your previous Upar Paragon are now over in your My RealTors Paragon. So you do want to take a look, make sure all of your contacts are there, make sure everything is looking like it has email addresses, for instance. Open up a few of them, take a look. It's also a great time for cleanup. Now the Collab Center, and I'm just going to show you a Collab Center site so you can kind of see. I'll kind of take you through backwards so you can make sure that it looks just like you want it to. The Collab Center site is what I use to get a lot of buyers off of Zillow and other IDX sites. I don't want them on there because the information generally isn't accurate. I get calls all the time and buyers who think Zillow is like, you know, the holy grail where you start your search. They call and they'll say things like, you know, Colleen, you didn't tell me about 123 Main Street. And sure enough, I go in, I look it up, it closed 30 days ago. So I want them to use this. And what I tell my buyers is that, you know what, I'm going to set you up in the MLS, the actual tool that I use and all the other agents use. So the minute something goes active, you're going to see it. And that's a lot easier to get them to, you know, once they get a couple that have already closed, they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I really want to see what's really accurate and current information. One of the things I like so much about this, and this is an actual site that I set up for a client, they can go in, they can favorite properties, they can go in, ask questions about properties, and of course they can see all of the detail on those properties. So when they click view detail, they can go in and see everything from the photos to tell you when they would like to see it. Again, that's just going to email you. But instead of me finding out they like this home, then me picking up the phone and going, okay, when are you and Donna available to see it? They can actually just submit a time that they'd like to see it and a date, and then I can go ahead and start scheduling their showings. And I'm going to show you something really neat in just a second regarding that. Of course, they can do the map view or the street view. They literally can walk down the street using Google Maps. They can check out the entire neighborhood. They can see the properties to the left, properties to the right, because remember, you're covering more area now. Now with data sharing, you're going to see a lot more listings. So if the property's 2 hours away, they can actually go right through the neighborhood and again, do the view to the left and the right and check it out so you're not driving endlessly, especially with gas prices as they are today. They can, of course, use a mortgage payment calculator. Maybe they're looking to stay within a certain, you know, payment, especially if you're trying to figure out HOA fees and things of that nature. Those are really nice. I'm just going to favorite a couple because I want to show you another really cool thing. So I'm just going to go in. I'm going to say that this client received these homes. As you can see, they were new matches. It looks like they came over today. So I'm just going to favorite 4 or 5, and so you can kind of see our next example. Now, the nice thing is you, the agent, are seeing all of what they favorite. It's actually being emailed to me right now every time they favorite a home. But what I like about the Collab Center is I can see when I added the client to the Collab Center, when they last logged in, I can see the last email notification. I can see how many favorites they have, how many they've rejected. I can see questions that they've asked, but I'm just going to click on these 3 favorites because I want to show you this next really cool piece. So if you can get your clients to favorite the properties and possibly get them to tell you when they want to see them right through that schedule a showing button, watch how cool this is. So I'm going to say my client wants to see these 9. I should be so lucky. My clients are lucky if we can find 1 or 2 available right now in our market. But I'm going to say my client wants to see these 9 properties. And I want to drop them all into showing time because I want to schedule all the appointments at once. So what I'm going to do, and I'll shorten this up just a little bit so we don't have to take all 9, but I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to use the easy button. I want you to think of this actions button right here as the easy way to show properties. If you click on that actions button, it will take you to showing time. When I click on showing time, and some of you may be familiar with this, but I can create a showing time cart. Seems like every time I show it, people get all excited about it. So I just want to show it to you real quick. I did this all from just clicking the number on the Collab Center. So I'm going to say I want to show these properties tomorrow, and I want to show them to Barry, my buyer. You could add a new contact too. But here's how cool this is, because remember, you're covering more area, and let's face it, gas is really expensive these days. When I scroll down, I can see this kind of has me driving all over the place. So the first thing I want to do is I want to click the Smart Route button. What that's going to do is it's actually going to route them in the logical driving order using Google Maps. So now that makes a little more sense, right? Property, let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm not driving all over the map like the MLS dropped it in. I can also, and this is another feature I really like, I can see what's a go and show and what's going to actually have to be required. meaning what appointment either has to be confirmed by a seller or a listing agent. So I know this one needs an appointment. So if we're running out last minute to go and look at this house, well, I probably want to start at a go and show where I know I'm going to immediately get the lockbox. Of course, you can put these in a different order if you need to, but here's where it gets really cool. So if I want to pick a time for this particular property, let's say I want to show this one. You can see it's blocked out till 5 tomorrow. So I'm going to show this one between 5 and 5:15. Now with a tight window, like between 5 and 5:15, which is what this agent is allowing, what I want to do is I want to see how long is it going to take me to get from property 1 to property 2. So I can see right here, it's 3.9 miles, and it's going to take me approximately 13 minutes. So if my appointment ends at 5:15, I'm probably going to schedule my next appointment for 5:30. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say, okay, yep, I want to schedule my next appointment for 5:30. And we've got another 15-minute window here. I'm going to go ahead and now I'm basically setting up my appointment times, and it's really nice because I can see how much time I'm going to need. I can see right here it's only going to take me 5 minutes, so I'm probably going to do, maybe a 5:45 to 6 o'clock appointment. So I'm just going through, and then when I'm all done picking my times, and I can see my nice time blocks right over here, I can hit send request once, and now they're all going out so they can get those appointments confirmed, and I can be sent the lock boxes. From here, another cool feature is if you're like me, and I swear I don't know why this is, but I seem to attract some of the crazier buyers, you can also add another listing. So if you have that buyer who you got your tour all set up and they call you as you're walking out the door and they say, great news, we found 2 more listings, you can go in and add additional listings. Or if maybe they're an out-of-town buyer or maybe a referral and you want to add another, like a restaurant in there, you can actually add a restaurant address where you can actually do turn-by-turn directions now. So what that means is it'll tell them what property they're starting at. It'll give them turn-by-turn directions that can be sent to their phone, and it will even show where they're stopping for lunch. So they don't have to call you and say, okay, what was the first house again? What was the second house again? You can have all of that done right through those turn-by-turn directions. So that is the showing time cart. We have a whole nother class coming on this. We're going to talk a lot more about showing time and Cloud CMA and some of the statistics there. So keep in mind that showing time will be turned on for you to start using the showing time carts on April 4th. And Brian said probably late morning, all of those will be ready for you. Okay, so that's the showing time tool. We want to make sure that those contacts are imported. That's kind of the first part of your homework, as Brian mentioned. We want to make sure the email addresses are there. But more importantly, we want to make sure all of your listings look correct. And if not, we want to know about it right away so that we can fix it all before conversion. So the easiest way I think to do that is using the market monitor that you see right here. The market monitor allows you to watch a particular market or cities or counties. But if you simply click on My Info, and you have the number of listings. So let's say you have 10 listings. This will say 10. You're going to click on the listing number, and it's going to open up that listing or those listings so that you can go in and you can actually check, make sure things like all the photos came over properly, make sure the data's flowing into the appropriate field. Now we've tried to do that, and Brian's been working, like I said, around the clock trying to get all that done for you, but we do need your eyes just in case we missed anything. You do have some unique fields, and so we want to make sure all of that's carrying over properly. If you do spot something that does not look correct, all you have to do is hit the correction button right here in the toolbar. You do not have to tell us who you are. It already knows who you are. You don't even have to tell us the property address. All you need to specify is what's wrong. This will allow us to look into it and then make those changes before that cutover period happens. All right, a couple other things I wanted to touch on. I wanted to talk about that original MLS number that Brian referenced before. Now most of us search by address, but let's say for a moment that somebody calls you with an old Upar MLS number. Well, and you want to put it into Paragon and quickly find it. You can still do that. So I'm going to show you how you can customize this so you can still find things by the original MLS number, okay, which is this field that you see right here. So it's not here out of the box, and neither is the full addresses field. So let me show you how to add those in. If you go up to this little gear where it says Edit Widget, click on that gear, and then you're simply going to type in the field you want to add. So I'm going to take original MLS out for a moment just to show you how to add it in. So I'm going to go up here to Find, and I'm just going to type in the word original. What's going to happen now is it's going to show me the original MLS field. I'm going to check it off. I'm going to hit Add. And by the way, feel free to put these fields in any order you want. You can drag and drop them. So if this is a field that you use quite often, don't be afraid to drag and drop it right up at the top so that you can use that, hit Apply, and now my original MLS field is here, and I can put in my Upar Paragon MLS number and still find things quickly. All right, so now let's talk about, and you can do that for full addresses too, by the way. Now let's talk about some of the changes that you're going to see when you're doing your full searches. So we kind of talked about your quick search. This is nice if you're on the phone with someone, you want to find a couple properties, or you want to use that full addresses. Again, you have your power search if you're just looking for something fast. But what if you've got that buyer who has special needs, like maybe they they're looking for something via land contract. I have a buyer who will only buy things on a land contract. Maybe you have a buyer who's looking for a 4-car garage with a pole barn or whatever it happens to be. That's where you're going to do a little more in-depth search. So we're going to go up to search right here at the top. And of course, this is also where you can search things like your inventory, how much you've sold. You can search for, let's say, an open house or a tour. You can find your saved property searches. But in this case, we're just going to maybe search for a particular buyer. So you're going to see a few more fields. And as Brian mentioned, if you go in and edit your listings after the 4th, you may see that it asks you to add a little bit of additional information. And that's just because certain fields are required in data sharing. So that may ask you if there's a field that isn't filled out. It may ask you, could you please fill out this field before saving it? That way it will properly go through the data share. But if you don't know what goes into a particular field, remember, just click the magnifying glass to the right, and it's going to show you. This is just asking, are you looking for a condo, a single family home, or a farm? I'm going to say they're looking for a single family home. I've even added my full addresses to this search because I use it so much. Remember, you can do that same thing with the customize right up here at the top. Status, you're going to see a few more statuses, whether or not your board uses it, as Brian mentioned. So if you're looking to find out what those statuses mean, simply click on the magnifying glass. And of course, you can go ahead and select all in that category, or you can deselect a particular item. Okay. Down here, I'm going to say that I only want to see things that are for sale. They're not interested in leasing. And I'm going to start scrolling down to the area. Now, here was a really good question we got in the last class, so I wanted to bring it up. So because before you were obviously looking at the UP data, now you're looking at a much greater piece of the pie. Someone called me from the Houghton area, and they said, you know what, Colleen, I find this a little confusing because I'm looking at Houghton, and there is 5 Houghtons that come up. And in my area, it's the exact same thing. So I'm looking in Clinton Township, and there are 5 Clinton Townships in Michigan. I had no idea. So if you're setting up a search, how do you know which Clinton Township you're looking for? Well, here's a really easy way to know that. The beginning of Clinton Township, the Clinton Township I'm looking for is in Macomb County, okay? The first 2 numbers that you see here are actually county identifiers. So let me show you what I mean. So if I am looking for Clinton Township in Macomb County, if I type in Macomb, I can see that Macomb County starts with a 50, okay? So when I'm looking at Clinton Township, If I'm looking for the Clinton Township in Macomb County, I'm certainly going to choose the one with the 50 in front of it. So let's use the Houghton example for just a moment. So in this case, he was looking in Houghton County. So I put in Houghton. Now, as I start typing Houghton, if you keep the county here, so let's say you type the county in the county identifier, it will only show you what's in Houghton County. But I can also see that the identifier is 31. So if I'm looking in all areas and I type in Houghton, I'm clearly going to choose the Houghton that has the 31 identifier. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I thought that was a really good question that came up. I'm going to enter in just a little more of my buyer's criteria. So I know he's looking for 3 bedrooms. He's only interested in ranches. He has to have a basement. So just some basics. One of the other questions that we get is body of water. Yes, you can still search on body of water. If it is not in your fields, remember you can go to Customize, Fields, and simply add it in. So you can add in any field that is specific for your type of business. So again, if I want to add body of water, I'm going to check it off, hit add, and I can even rearrange where I want it to be in the list. Okay, scrolling down. Features. Features, I think you're going to see a lot more features, but I have to be honest, I'm really thankful that Upar came on board because I had been kind of bugging Brian to add 2 of the features that you had that we didn't have. So I think you're going to see a lot more features, but thanks to you, I finally get the 2 that I've sort of been nagging him about. So the features work like this. If you've not used features before, probably most people have, features work like this. There are 3 options when you're talking features: must have, must not have, or must have at least one of these items so that it makes it onto my buyer's list. So for instance, if you have a buyer who says, Colleen, my girls have been in swimming lessons, we have to have an in-ground pool, that's a must, then I'm going to put in must have, in-ground pool, and only things with that in-ground pool are now going to go over to that buyer, especially if I've set them up in the Collab Center. Then there are must not have. So I just had the nicest lady, I sold her home, and unfortunately where I am, we had to have a well and septic test in order to convey the property. And unfortunately, she found out that although her husband explained it was a newer septic system, it actually was very old. And she had to replace it with a raised engineered septic field in the amount of $17,000 unexpected dollars. So when she called me about the new house, she said, Colleen, don't even show me a house that is on a septic field. I don't want to see it. Don't send it to me. So in that case, I would do a must not have septic, and it wouldn't even go to her Collab Center account. She won't even see it. But then there are those must have one or more. Now, I'm going to actually show you how to find all the features because you may not know all the new features that you have. So let's say, I'm going to click on this little magnifying glass to the right. Let's say you have someone with a home business and they say, Colleen, we either must have a finished basement or a pole barn so that we have space to work. So if I'm trying to find something with a finished basement, I could do basement, which is the type here. I could go over and say must have at least a finished basement or a pole barn. Or in this case, maybe they just want a finished basement. So I can say must have a finished basement. Some other things that you'll find very helpful are financing. If I scroll down to financial terms right here, if I know that they have been approved, let's say special types of financing like FHA 203K, or maybe I know that they are only going to be able to buy on a land contract, I can actually say must have land contract terms or it's not going to go over to that buyer. So I thought that was very helpful too. Because of you, we're actually getting generator, which I'm excited about. That will be added here shortly. And I forgot there was one other feature, Brian, electric at street. We did not have that currently, so Brian is adding that into features for you. So that'll be coming down the road. The other one I wanted to show you though is water features. So I currently have a client looking on Lake St. Clair. He said, Colleen, you know what? I don't really care if it's just lakefront, but really I just want to get my boat in the water. So he didn't care if it was canal front, lakefront, or just a steel seawall with river access. So I can actually say it must have at least one of these in order to make sure that it goes into his Collab Center. So really, really easy ways to use those features too. Okay. If there's any questions though, feel free to go ahead and throw them in that questions box. All right, we can go ahead and address them. A couple other things that I just wanted to quickly bring up, and I'm just gonna take these out so we get a few search results here, is that if you haven't done any search by map before, now is a great time to get familiar with that. And we're gonna talk more about that when we're choosing comps in our CMA classes too. So I'm just gonna say for the sake of time here, I'm gonna be looking in Sterling Heights, 3 bedrooms. I'm looking for, and if I'm looking for comps, it's even better. Let's say I'm looking for closed properties in maybe the last 6 months. But I know my buyer is, or if I'm doing a CMA and I'm looking for comps, I want to stay within maybe 1 or 2 square miles of my subject property. So that's when the searching by map comes in really handy. So I can actually click in to the search by map field. I'm just going to put a little criteria in here so you can see kind of how this works. I say, yes, it has to have a basement. I want to see stuff within that's closed within the last 6 months. And I'm only looking for residential single family homes. But now I want to stay really close to maybe where he works. Maybe I'm looking for comps for my new listing appointment. So basically, when you go into the search by map, what happens, and I'm just going to turn off this filter so it doesn't look so crazy for you. It will actually open to your office location first. But let's say that I'm looking for comps for a listing appointment tonight. I could type in my subject address right into that field, and I'm going to do comma the city, and I'm going to say, okay, let's go right to that specific listing. Okay, here's my subject flag, but now I'm looking for comps within 2 miles of my subject property right here. So I'm going to put 2. And by the way, you could do 0.25 if you're looking for quarter mile, whatever it happens to be. And I'm basically going to create a radius, just like an appraiser would, to find comps that are going to be within that 2 mile radius. Or you could do 1 mile, whatever you want it to be. Another thing is, remember, you're covering more area. So you can also use the little Google man to the right, and you can actually set them in front of your subject property. So I could literally walk down the street, just like I showed you in the Collab Center. I can literally walk down the street and check out the neighborhood. I can see the homes to the right, the homes to the left, because you're covering a much bigger area with a lot more data now. Up here, you can also do things like add floodplain information onto the maps using these parcel layers too. So I'm going to go back to our map. If I click on these parcels here, or I'm sorry, the layers here, I can add things like parcels, so I can zoom in and see how big the lots are. I can even add floodplain information. So if I want to see if this is going to be located in a floodplain, I can zoom in and I can say, I want to see, is there a floodplain in this area? And as you can see, there is. It's starting to outline that floodplain for me. So a lot of things that you can do in the layers too. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn these off so it's not so confusing. You can also draw up to 10 shapes. So we know buyers are not looking in the same spots anymore. They're not looking in one small area. They're looking in larger areas. So you can also use the drawing tools to simply draw. So let's say he wants to stay east of John R., doesn't want to go south of 18, but his mother-in-law lives over here by Mound. So we're going to stay a little closer to Ryan Road. And I'm literally drawing the exact location that that buyer is looking for comps. All right, so a lot of cool things. We'll actually have more advanced classes on this. You can actually exclude areas using the map. I love that feature. So if you're, let's say you're doing a CMA, and this happens to be $1 million waterfront properties, you can actually draw a shape right on the shape, and you can exclude it. So let's pretend that Amanda has just listed $10 million waterfront properties, but I'm doing a CMA on a little brick ranch way over here off the water. I don't want to include those. So I can actually draw the area that I want to exclude. I can hit the exclusion button and I can literally remove those from my CMA. So a lot of cool things that you can do. We're going to go into a lot more of that when we start talking about comps and CMAs and getting into the Collab Center. All right, by now I've probably overwhelmed you. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, that lady, she talks so fast with that fuzzy hair. How am I going to remember all this? Well, the good news is you don't have to. Not only do we record this class that will be available, but I'm going to show you our secret cheat sheets that you can access at any time too. This is also where you will find your new data sheets for the MLS. So right up here under the MLS documents, this is where you are going to find basically your new cheat sheets and where you're going to find all of the data sheets. So when you click on those MLS documents, I'm just going to go right to your folder here. You're going to see a folder labeled the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors folder. This is that conversion document. As I mentioned, Brian outlined all the dates, everything he went over in his PowerPoint today. This is going to be located in this conversion file. It's a PDF. You just click on it. You can save it to your computer, but all those important dates are right there. Now, we've gotten a lot of questions on this, so I want to kind of cover it. The MLS data sheets. So, of course, we have all different classes of the data sheets. I'm going to show you one real quick just so you can kind of see it. But there is an additional data sheet just for Upar, meaning you guys had some additional fields that we don't have down here, like trailside, ski resort, things like that, electric at street. Those were some things that we did not have. So Brian created an additional sheet that you can add to the data sheet that will have those things that were specific to you. So as soon as this opens, I apologize, it takes a second because we're live streaming here. It will open up the data sheet where you can simply fill it in, whether you add the listings in yourself or whether you're handing them off to an admin. I think you'll find that these data sheets are very helpful, especially when we show you how we're doing the inputting of the listings, which will start again on April 4th. So here's the data sheet. Everything in red is simply required. So as we go through, you can see that the features are all laid out in a nice, easy to read format. I love the data sheet personally. I like it because the features are a lot easier to see in here than they actually, I think, even are in Paragon. But as I mentioned, there's that additional sheet. That additional sheet is called the Upar data sheet. When you click on that, that's going to have those additional options like which MLS ID, whether you're with the Keweenaw or Iron Mountain. It'll have things like zoning, ski resort name, trailside description, ski resort, yes, no. So a lot of those things will be listed there for you too. So that is a really good resource. In addition to that, I mentioned we have our YouTube channel, which I set up a playlist just for you guys. So let me show you what it looks like. If you go to the My RealTors Media channel on YouTube. It's called My RealTors Media, and I'm going to show it to you here. And I believe Brian's also going to put this in your resources through Paragon. But basically, we set up an entire playlist. So all you have to do is click on the playlist button, and this is going to show you the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtor classes. So every class that we do, right from the beginning, right through the end, and by the way, we're going to be coming up and doing some visits. We're going to be doing some live in person this summer. We're also going to be doing a lot more webinars on each one of the products as they become available. All you have to do is click on the full playlist, and it will show you all the classes we've done up to now. And it will also show you some classes that we have coming up. So there's also things like quick tips and other items in here too I think you'll find useful. So everything is being recorded. This one will be uploaded late tonight. So you'll be able to start watching it as of tomorrow. So if you missed anything, you can fast forward right to that particular section. All right, Brian, did I miss anything? I got the Collab Center full addresses, single property website, reports, and original MLS ID. Did I miss anything else?
No, I think you did, but you know me, it'll come to me after we're done with the webinar.
Me too. I did that the other day. I'm like, oh, I forgot to show them. Yeah.
Well,
Usually at 2
I
a.m.
want to remind everybody, you can just reach out to support. If you do, a question pops in your head, just support@myrealsource.com. If you go into Paragon, the new Paragon, and click on help, there's a form there. You can just put any questions that you want. Somebody will get right back with you.
Brian, it's a good question, a really good question. And matter of fact, this is the first time I've seen this question, and it's a really good one, so I'm kind of surprised. The question just came up, will you be able to clone a listing from the new Paragon from the old Paragon? So they had a listing over here, and now it expired or whatever, and now they want to clone it. Can they do that?
Yes. As long as the listing is in Paragon, and you're in the same brokerage, which those rules are pretty much common anywhere else, you can clone it. So if you have an old listing that you listed a while ago and you want to clone that data or that listing, you could definitely do it. If you could pull it up into your listing maintenance, which you can if it's your listing, then you can clone it.
Great question. We are again asking for your help. Please go in, take a look, make sure your contacts look correct, make sure email addresses are there, which they should be now. Make sure that your listings, the fields look correct, the photos are there, and please take the time to report anything you may notice so that we can keep this conversion going as smooth as possible.
Yeah, your feedback definitely makes the MLS. So the more we hear, the more that we can do and update it. So let us know.
Awesome. Well, and we will get that new class list out here shortly too. And otherwise, happy listing, go list. So we have a lot more inventory to see. And again, as Brian mentioned, support's always here should you have any questions. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.